aptly mentioned, an American engineer very aptly mentioned, science is about knowing and engineering is about doing. So only engineers have the power to do impossible because they have the tool of science to create. So once again, a very warm welcome to attendees. Today on this occasion of Engineers Day, Material Advantage at IIT Kanpur, in association with Vigyan Bharati Kanpur Pran, is celebrating the empowerment of women in science and engineering. I'll just introduce a bit about Vigyan Bharati. Vigyan Bharati is a non-profit organization that works for popularization of science, engineering and technology all across the globe. And we are glad that they associated with us as a part of Swatantrata Ka Amrit Mahotsav initiative being celebrated on a national level. Vibha Kanpur Prant is under the presidency of Dr. Abhay Karandikar, Director IIT Kanpur. Thank you, members of Vibha, for joining today. We are honored to have with us Professor Monica Katiyar from IIT Kanpur. She's a leading and very renowned face in area of flexible electronics. She has been the former head of Department of Material Science and Engineering, IIT Kanpur, and the only female faculty member in the department. Her professional accomplishments are very known to all of us, but her struggle of success will be an inspiration for many of us. Without wasting any time, I would request Professor Kantesh Balani, Faculty Chair, MA at ITK, to kindly moderate this event and welcome Professor Katiyar.
Thank you, Shruti, and welcome everyone to Engineers Day. I'm really honored to read very illustrious CV of Professor Monica Katiyar. So she started her BTech because I think most of us are not from also IIT Kanpur. So I'll just read out her brief CV. She has done her BTech from IIT Kanpur in 1987 in Metallurgical Engineering, followed by Masters of Engineering from McMaster University in 1989, followed by PhD in University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign in 1994. She has a very wide experience with industry. She has worked in Motorola as senior process engineer from August 1994. Then she became senior device engineer, and she has worked till November 1997. Till November, and in December she has joined IIT Kanpur as a faculty. She also has served as head of the department from April 2018 to April 2021. She also has served as coordinator of STEMTEL Center for Display Technology and Flexi Center, November 2014 to September 2017. Earlier, she also has been coordinator of Solar Energy Research Enclave, June 2009 to June 2013. She has multiple accolades, but before that, I will also highlight that she is one of the leading experts on flexible electronics and OLED technology. So she has worked on organic, printed, and flexible electronics, device and process development for silicon technology at Motorola, and thin film growth and in situ characterization. So she has, I think, very wide expertise in the area of electronics. I'll also highlight a few accolades, and their list is, I think, never ending. But she has been awarded very prestigious National Metallurgist of the Year 2018 by Indian Institute of Metals. She held SBI Chair Professor position 2011 to 2014. Earlier, she has Boy Scouts Fellowship, Young Engineer Award from INA, Young Scientist Award. Also, she has multiple awards from earlier. Nelly Yo Witten Award from American Vacuum Society, a RHF Award for Outstanding Graduate Research, and I think multiple awards from Watson Graduate Fellowship, American Vacuum Society as a Student Award, and multiple, I think the list goes on for, I think, even from her BTech. She also has gotten Mars G. Fontana Award from IIT Kanpur as well, General Proficiency Award from IIT Kanpur, Certificate of Merit for Academic Proficiency. The list actually goes on. But I just want to highlight one thing, that she is leading with example. So really an honor to welcome Professor Monica Katiyar out here. So the mode we will keep it like I'll start with at least a few questions so that audience warms up, and then we will continue with the questions from the audience, if that is okay with Professor Katiyar.
Thank you so much, Kantesh. Thanks for a really nice introduction. And yeah, that's perfectly fine. The format is perfectly fine. I think we'll keep it informal and maybe straight from the heart type of discussion.
So I'll start something, from your early days. Maybe, okay, if you can tell something about, your background. Where did you actually? Where were you born? How was your schooling? Little bit, and then how did you get motivated for higher education? If you can highlight that part.
Definitely. So I was born in Basti, UP. My father was on transferable job, so he got transferred again. But then I grew up in a place called, very small place called Kalagad in Garhwal. Till 8th, my education was there. I mean, we moved when I was 6 months to Lucknow, then maybe I think less than 2 years to Garhwal. And it's a beautiful place. Uttarakhand is a beautiful place. I think I had a wonderful childhood. I have really nice memories of that place even now. And then I moved to Banaras in 8th. And I think that was probably my academic eye opener, because Banaras is really a very hub for education. And so I did my 12th from Banaras Government College, and that's where I gave JEE. And then I started my journey in IIT Kanpur from 87, as you know. And so I would say two things. I think engineering, in some sense, is in my blood because my father was a mechanical engineer from University of Roorkee. And since he was working on a hydroelectricity project, Kalagad was a hydroelectricity project, Ram Ganga Pariyojana. And my school's name, it was just a small colony. The school's name was Ram Ganga Pariyojana Uchchatar Madhyamik Vidyalaya. So, and I grew up, seeing those machines, those turbines and reservoirs. So, and I loved it. I think that's how the engineering. I became fan of engineers. They do wonderful things, and they take up projects which are larger than life, and it's just wonderful to be associated or to see them.
So I'll follow it up with one more question. Do you face any difficulty during journey to pursue this, or it was a little smooth sailing, right, because of your father being an engineer?
Yeah. So I know the topic of the discussion is binaries, but thankfully or fortunately, I don't think I had to struggle to prove myself. I was encouraged, I was mentored to do the best I could. And I think that is the answer. I think all engineers are having something innate in them. And I think that's a feeling that we want to make a change, big, small, or whatever in lives of people, in our own lives. I think that attitude is what defines engineering. So although I very much appreciate the topic, because I know most people, most women are not as fortunate as me to have such a support system. But I didn't have really a struggle. I would not say I had any struggle in being here. But then there are struggles, and I don't want to make it any small, because I think the struggles come in a lot of indirect manner also. As a family, I was supported big time, but struggles come from society and indirect struggles, which you don't see, but then maybe you feel sometimes, and you're not necessarily able to even put it in words. But that is there all in our society, as we already know. The numbers speak and all those things. So I don't want to say it doesn't exist. It very much exists. Fortunately, I had a easy time. So.
Okay. So Shruti, you want to ask one thing?
So, ma'am, since you know that there are very few women engineers, and at the time when you were doing your BTech, so how many of your women colleagues are so successful as you are right now, or have they they just quit their career and they are set with the families?
Okay, so we talk about numbers. I joined IIT Kanpur in 83, BTech Metallurgical Engineering, and there were 7 girls at that time in the batch of around 225. So that's the numbers that speak to you. And out of those, I know only of 2 people who continued in the engineering field. One is very, very successful. She was also in computer science in a very high air ranking. I think she was 7 air, and Neeta Goyal, and I think she's now running a company. So very successful colleague. Another person, Ekta Sinha, who went to Tata Steels, and she's doing very, very well. And I think she's a very senior person in Tata Steels now. Others moved on to other fields, like this happens management and other areas. Out of 7, 50%. Not a bad ratio for a small number to continue in the field. Yeah. So it was a good number. I would say all of them continued professionally in a related area, if not engineering exactly.
I'm actually remembering one thing from what Professor Mehrotra had said. When you used to take classes, probably you used to keep them on their toes because kind of questions you used to ask. So just wanted to also ask, how did you keep yourself motivated? Especially during that time, when there are very less number of girls and maybe so like what was your how did you keep yourself self motivated during maybe BTech days and later on?
It's been so long back, but I don't think. So this is where maybe I would like to sort of put my argument about this binary part. I never felt that I'm by any chance disadvantaged because I am coming from the other half of the population. And I think IIT Kanpur did provide that environment. There was no discrimination, and I think all teachers treated you absolutely well. They never, never was their thing that girls don't do this or girls don't do well. Unfortunately, on the other hand, maybe it was the other way around, that they do much better.
Much
So I
better.
think that was motivating, and I think IIT Kanpur does provide a good environment, and it provides freedom. And I think that was really nice back in '83. I'm more of a conformal. At least I grew up as a more of a conformist person. I would rather follow, whatever my parents said and everything. And it was kind of liberating when I first came to the campus. The campus, you could move at any time, anywhere, which I had never seen before coming to IIT Kanpur. I know things may have changed now, but before that, you come home in the evening, and if you have to go out, you would always, go with someone from family. So it was kind of, freedom, which I had not seen. IIT Kanpur was liberating in that sense. It helped me form my identity as what could be, what wasn't there. Not that I was complaining before that. As I said, I was more of a conformist, and whatever is available. But I could see the opportunity that there's a lot more. There is a lot more needed to be a woman and to be completely empowered. It was liberating in some sense that just at 9 o'clock you can go to the library, you can return from library at 12 in the midnight. That's kind of a whole new you in our society at that time. So I think IIT Kanpur had a lot to make me what I am in terms of the environment it provided.
I'll just take you to one more thing because I think Vajpayee in the last meeting also mentioned that not our GP Vajpayee, that one change you had to make when you became a head was to say madam rather than sir to everyone. So because I just want to highlight this because I think we are not. I think our mindset also is that you will not find female compliant. I think compliance at multiple places, like the toilets may be missing. So how did you, I think, cope with those, I think, biases or stigmas during that time?
Okay, so that's something which I don't know if the men folks here are identifying it, but I think all the females here will identify with what I'm about to say. I think you grow up with those disadvantages and you kind of accept it. But now I will tell it to my younger colleagues who are female here, you don't have to, because there is another better option. And I think my other male colleagues also, to provide that better option. I think I kind of, as I said, I was a conformist, I accepted and I said, okay, I will find my way or my life around it. If I had to run to home to relieve myself or something, I'll do that. Whatever. I mean, you kind of accept it. That's the reality, and you accept it. But my message to my younger colleagues and professional colleagues would be to both male and females would be, there is a better opportunity, and as an engineer we need to find that opportunity, not accept things. And I think we need to move away from that accepting things and find the right solution which is comfortable to all. Very easy, and I have done it myself in my life. It's very easy to say, oh, ऐसे ही होता है, यही करते हैं, पर नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होता. If you're an engineer, you need to figure out a solution which is comfortable to all. So that would be my take.
No, nicely said, actually. There are other questions as well, so I'll just read on. As anyone has any question, please raise your hand and we will take it up, because I also have received a few questions, so I thought I'll go ahead. So what challenges you face as a mother to maintain a balance between your personal and professional life?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Okay, I think this again is, it's a part. So I think I'll start this answer from here. I know the people I'm talking now almost 30 years junior to me where I was at this point earlier, but I would say that as I met lots of people, doing things, one message which I saw from my contemporary women on campus also, who I think many of you would not know, many of our faculty wives are highly educated. They are PhDs, and they gave up their career for family. Nothing wrong in that. I think that choice is your own, and you should make it as you feel fit. Should not be pressurized either way. But many of them told me, no matter how difficult life becomes, please continue professionally, because it's very difficult to come back to it. So this is what I'm telling you about contemporaries of mine who probably chose, and nothing wrong with their choice, but I think afterwards they felt maybe they should have continued professionally. And because that is a part of you which is requiring that creativity from you, right? I mean, I think we are all human beings, and all of us need that creativity that we have, and need a channel for that. So I would just go by that experience, since I chose not to give up, and whatever struggle it was, it is not easy. But I think if you had as I support, as I said, I had big family support. If you have family support, it does help a lot. But I think even if that struggle, and it not only comes to women, I think men also have the same pressure from family. I think you need to continue and follow your profession, which is your expression of your life. And there are bad times, there are good times, as always. So that is one thing that I would say. It was not easy, but I personally had a big support from my mother. I think it became easy for me because my mother was living with me, and I think she practically brought up my children than I did. So I had a big support from family, and so family support is, of course, family, husband, brothers, sisters, how they help you, get through your contradictions and difficulties. It really helps making your life easy.
Just on the follow-up, I think, do you have anything for, I mean, the male counterpart, like how, like what you expect? Because right now conveying, we accepted and we went ahead with whatever that trouble you face. Do you have some suggestion or some advice for the male counterpart as well, that they should be sensitive to what all aspects? Because I think that part, I think sometimes gets missed. Sometimes I think males are not so sensitive to understanding what is actually required or how to take it forward. So if you have some words for them, it will be helpful.
So I think so let me start with my father. I think that's the first male influence in my life. And I think what I am my academics was very much influenced by his support. So I think all fathers should really, really interact with their daughters. I mean, you remember my time was when actually fathers didn't really interact, and especially if you were a girl child, maybe interacted even less. But my father in that sense was very, very different. I recall even as a child, when you go for final exam, he would, before the exam, at that time we didn't have cutters and we were in a very small place. So he would take a knife and he will, sharpen my pencils and put it in my box before my exam. So he really pampered me in that sense. As I grew up, he would help me, since he was an engineer himself, and he was good in maths and science. He was a good teacher also, a very good teacher. I remember many times in high school and 12th, I would I would not understand some concept, and then I'll go to him and then he will explain, and then I will cry because I couldn't understand it, and I stomp my feet and all that. And I would even tell him, if you understood it, you would make me understand. And he never lost his patience. And that's, I think, the sign of a very good teacher. He would, after an hour or 2 hours, he will understand exactly where I'm having difficulty. He will start from the scratch and he will explain the concept to me. So that patience that he showed to me, I think went a long way in my perception of the opposite counterpart also. I mean, it helped me. I think my colleagues will agree that I never shy off from any discussion. I think he helped that. He allowed me to have a discussion with him, or put up if I don't understand something. I was never afraid And I knew that the help will come from them. It's not like he was, oh, you don't understand anything. So that I think was very, very big support in growing up. And then my brother was also very, very supportive. He was always there to help me. He was also joking, but he's always stood by. And he was a IIT Kanpur graduate, so kind of also a motivation for me that he did it, so I had to do it, kind of thing. He graduated in '79. Then I have a great support from my husband also. I think if I say I want to do something, he has never said that, we have family, this, that you cannot. He always supported. I actually left my young daughter and my husband alone for a year and went to US for that time, and he supported that. So I've had, I think, support. Whoever your sister, daughter, wife, whatever they want to do, let them make their own choices. And I think they are smart enough to make their own choices correctly. So I think that support is there, and I think I see this generation much better in that sense. I think they are going forward, and they understand that in order for for a career for both, you need to balance your family life also, and support in family life also. So I see progress in that direction, and I think it's really nice. I hope, as I was telling, many of my contemporaries had to give up, but I hope this generation won't have to do that, because I think younger generation is a lot more sensitive to that, and they are not accepting. Right? They are saying, okay, if both of us want to have a career, which means we both have to have other responsibility, also share other responsibilities. So I think the things are going in the right direction, and I think the future we will not have such issues of binary choices, and there will be a lot more easier life for women. Yeah.
There's a question in the chat box. Beside parents, who else support while raising your child at very early stages? So she also answered it was mother-in-law, right? Or
my mother.
mother. Sorry. So one more question is there. So how do you keep your spirits up when the results are not in your favor even after giving 100%? So how do you come out of that setback, or like what is your way to come back here?
I'm not sure. I think I'm in that sense. I try my best, and if I can't, I don't get dejected very easily. I maybe that's an engineering attitude. I have, go and try something else. It's like that's what you do. You try 5 things, and maybe you have 5 ideas, and one will work. So in that sense, I take life also that way. You had 5 ideas, some may work, some may not work, and because not every parameter is under your control. So I'm okay if I fail, I accept it. I don't have too many issues. I'm not. I don't worry too much about it. I think we should move on and try other challenges.
Do you have any interest? I mean, listening to music or drawing something or along those lines?
Yeah, I was more of as a hobby. In back old days, you didn't have too much of other things, so you did have hobbies. I was not much in the music, but I like drawing and embroidery and all those things. I'm not a great cook, but
so do those things also help? Or those things also help during that, or yeah.
I'm not sure if I was able to pursue it once you join professionally. There isn't really enough time for everything. But yes, in the growing up age, when you did have time, you pursued those and other things. But not once you are in professional, and then you have other social life also, then family life. It's very difficult to pursue your hobbies in an active manner. Maybe once the kids grow up, it'll back to hobbies.
I also wanted to sensitize especially the male counterpart. So I think from my interaction with also multiple women as well as male professionals. So I typically see even after people have engaged in a very strong technical discussion, and when the meeting gets over, typically males are still arguing over the issue which was discussed in that particular meeting. But females come out and the first thought is, oh, whether my kid has taken the food or not. Or they are more towards, they remember that. And that makes others feel that, oh, so that also I think biases the way I think a male sees a female. So you have any thoughts on that? Because this also is a very important part. They had very strong discussion even with a student or a faculty. But then suddenly I think people perceive, oh, they are not doing technical discussion because they are out and then talking about family. So that is, I think, very sensitive part, but I think that also requires attention. So you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's more of, I don't really okay, so I don't really worry about that. There is a problem, I think, in perception, and it's not really my problem in some sense. In the sense, I think it's a problem of overall perception of the society, and I think it requires a change, as I said earlier, from both sides. Not just, I wouldn't just say male counterpart. The females are equally responsible to change that perception. If you have committed to a profession, then you should give it same commitment that the other colleagues are giving. It does not matter whether you're male or female. So in that sense, I don't see it any differently, and that should come, and that's your responsibility. You shouldn't be like, because I have a family, so I should get any concession. That, why should you? I mean, you are professionally in that, and I don't see any reason why you should take it that. And if anybody does that, I think they're misusing their position.
Actually, okay, I meant it other way around. I was meaning that during the meeting, it was all, technical discussion. But when the meeting gets over, then I think people are free to talk whatever they want. So that on that level, actually, I was conveying that it is both are committing, but at the end, it feels in the end that, they are thinking about family first over the issue. But I think that's a perception, I think, which needs to change, as you rightly pointed out. Okay, so there are some questions now. So women in the scientific environment, how positively influence the system? You feel that women per se will make a difference in the academic research setting? Please let us know your views.
Absolutely. And I think this very recent, it's going to make a difference. A recent change, which is requiring 14% women population in science and technology or engineering colleges. I think it's a wonderful move towards it. Women are committed. The younger generation, I'm so happy they are independent. They have they are not agreeing with so many, I don't know the right word, maybe stereotypes of women, and they are establishing their identity, and more should do that. Nobody is defining your identity, right? I mean, I think it's high time people, your identity is being defined, whether whose daughter or brother, sister, or husband, wife you are. It's your own identity, and everything else is secondary. So establish your identity, and once there are more of them, I think society in general will be much better. You have to have equal participation. There is nothing that stops women from doing it, other than maybe their own stereotypes. I'm not saying that it's always the blame on the other side. Women themselves are not comfortable getting out of their comfort zone. So it's time for them to get out of their comfort zone and say, okay, there are all sort of scares. Then if you do this, you will not get that. If you do this, you will not get that. Okay, if I don't get that, I will just have this. Be courageous, be strong-headed, and do what you wish to do. There are enough systems. Systems are good. They will allow you to grow. You will find difficulty in the social settings and how people interact with you and all that. But then those are all secondary. Eventually, it will change. It will not change in my. It of course isn't going to change in my generation, but it may not change in your generation also. But eventually, maybe your granddaughters and maybe my granddaughters, things will change, and I think that is going in the right direction. So just to give it a nice perspective from women's point of view that we are talking about it. So I'll start from my grandmother, maternal side grandmother, and her mother. And I'm not trying to prove the point. I mean, society was probably much difficult, right? This is when pre-independence time they started. So the story that I've heard, of course, I did see it, is my grandmother lost her husband very early. She had 3 daughters and 1 son, and they had good, we are from farming community, they had good land and all, and she managed on her own. This is what I've heard. She not only managed on her own in those days, she used to have, and this is from a village community, she used to have a teacher, a Maulana and all, come and teach, and she made sure her daughter also got education. So if we go that back, education is a big enabler. And that lady, after managing her lands and all, her son became a collector of Kanpur. The education she provided. One of the daughter, which would be my grandmother now, did double masters. She had difficulties in her personal life. That's I don't want to get in, but the education was a big thing. My own grandmother didn't educate that much, but the youngest one also got a bachelor's. So that's I'm talking about education in the grandmother's generation. And my mother generation also, my grandfather was also very much for education. I think education for women, enabling, giving them choices, giving them power is the way to go. And the same thing happened to me. And I think this need for educating women is very much there. And we need to continue that, and the way it will go forward. As I'm saying, things are changing, right? So, but this feel that you can do it. It didn't matter which generation it was, as long as you have that feeling, things are going to go forward. And here, everyone's help is required. You have to enable. You have to have equal participation for a equitable society, and where people will not be frustrated. Because if you don't give equal opportunities, there will always be suppression.
Yeah, Shruti, can you please mute this person, Dr. Renu Rastogi, or she wants to?
Yes, sir. Dr. Renu Rastogi, can you please mute yourself, because I'm not able to mute you from here.
Can we remove her, or is that fine? Because Dr. Renu Rastogi, are you there? So I'll just, I think, highlight one more point. So when Professor Katiyar actually became head, so I could also see, that the perspective which came in, because typically I see that males, they somehow, I think, give a directive and then they want things to align according to that. And when Professor Katiyar had come, she was very inclusive. So that part, I think, felt very nice. All felt involved, participated. And I think that brought a very good perspective, like a feeling of a family in the department. So just wanted to highlight that part, that I think that perspective or a touch of female, I mean, it is very good. I think as a male, we sometimes say, oh, please get this done. But I think involvement, knowing what the strengths are, I think I learned a lot from Professor Katiyar on that front. So the way she kept everyone involved. So that was very nice. And one more thing was, she, I think, gave credit every time to the other. So even when I think she had done the job, she actually had initiated something, but she, I think, made sure that the other person, receives that. So very, I think, nice way she took it forward. So I just wanted to add that part of like involvement of women in influencing and making things better. I also wanted to, I think, add one more thing to it. So typically, I have taken this course on Tier 201. It is on manufacturing processes. And once apparently it just happened that there were a team of 4 or 5 girls. I mean, that's it. Typically we, have males because it's a job which requires, I don't know, forging and all that. And apparently that is the best project I've ever encountered during I have tutored it many times, taught it 1 or 2 times. But that is the best experience I had, because apart from that particular technical quality, it also had good aesthetics appeal. And that part, sometimes I think males, I don't know, maybe I see the visualization, the creativity somehow, I think it's not as good as a female can think and visualize before it is ready. So I also wanted to add that part. So it has happened.
I think you're being unfair to males.
No, whatever that is, I'm not.
Very good.
Yes, maybe it's a bias, but sometimes I feel that creativity is, I think, before it is actually happened. And that part also can be seen, and that also makes them, I think, a little better in terms of visualizing or envisaging what might come later. So just wanted to add that part, and really it has been very helpful. I think it's along this. Yeah, please.
There's a question on the chat box. I'm saying, how do you keep motivated to yourself in difficult situation professionally and personally, and balance yourself? So I think this is I don't think here if gender matters. I think everyone has lows and highs of your professional. It's not like an end of life. You have to say, okay, what I can do better and go on. So in that sense, I have I always, I guess, focused on positives. I understand the negatives. If I can correct it, I will do it. If it is beyond me, then I like to move on, and rather than keep wondering about it too much. I think that's you have to take a decision and move on. You have to act on it, not keep brooding on it or always feeling sorry about yourself. I mean, I think it's, and to some extent, and I think females have to do it, and they have to do it and make themselves strong. Always thinking because I'm female, that's why it happened, because I am this and that, is not the right way to think. You compete, and if you're good, you will be chosen. If you're not, then you move on, because there are other also. There's no reason why one should always be looking. It may be a reason, it may not be. I mean, you don't know for sure ever. You never know for sure. So point is not to feel sorry about yourself, and do the best in whatever range you can reach. And finally, enjoy life. It's not it's not all about achievement. It's also about feeling satisfaction on what you're doing.
Okay.
A
So
job
another
well done
question.
itself is an achievement, right? A job well done to the extent that you could do it itself is an achievement.
So again, there's another question on, as seeing that large number of women and girls are participating in management professional courses, but less in the scientific and engineering profession. So you also mentioned there's some 40%, I think, I mean 40% some
14%. I think now
14,
it has been
14,
14, 1/4
20.
required.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to reach, I think, 25 or some number, right? No, but what is the main reason for lack of participation? So that's the concern, is why there is a lack of participation mainly in the engineering and sciences rather than management.
Yeah, I'm also concerned about it. As I said, the ratios back in 83 were like what, less than 1%, but it hasn't improved that much. But it has come up so much. But I think I wish the progress was a little better. There is, and then even if you go beyond India, there is a bias. You see that there is a gender. I shouldn't say the word bias, but there is a gender variation in going into science and technology, even in outside, not necessarily India. India maybe a little bit more. And I think that's basically because I think, I just talked about 3-4 generations of women in India, and the same thing probably holds true for others. So it'll take time. I think maybe another few generations when you will not have to ask that question. But still, we are coming out of of habits which are hard to die, but we need to keep working on it. And as we keep supporting our daughters, sisters, colleagues to reach where they want to reach, it'll be wonderful. And I think it's a slow process. I would agree, it's a slow process, especially I think it could have been faster, but then we are doing too many other things also. So keep a positive and the right attitude, and things will improve for future generations. That's the right thing to think about.
There's a question in the chat box, but before that, I just wanted to have a follow-up on that. Is it that I think there is a trend towards being a doctor rather than being an engineer? Because I think the mindset had been, in engineering, probably it requires a hard work or maybe some manual work or something like that. Is it so?
Probably it was so in the olden times, right? Because engineering in the olden time was mechanical, civil and all, but now that it's gone more to electronics and computers, hopefully that is also changing. Earlier it was so, probably earlier. An engineer was associated with more of a hard work or field work or something, but these days that's not true, right? With the advent of computer science, electronics and also hopefully people are not that way. I mean, I think more awareness is there, that as more and more female will come in the field, there will be more people in the public. Awareness would be better, and more will take up this profession. And I think work environment, and that's where everyone needs to work in, should be made such that they feel comfortable to work and compete. I think all those things will matter. So everyone has to participate. We are far from being where we should be. And there are other outside factors also, our cultural preferences and all that make a difference. It will take a long time, but I think the right direction is that it needs to change. And as long as we keep our focus on that and don't get disheartened or demotivated, that would be the key. Stay motivated on that and help anyone who you feel is wanting to get into a field which is not traditionally having equal numbers of both genders. I mean, you can see doctors are doctors who got I mean, that's why somebody asked question, if do you think it will help definitely, since female could be chose doctor profession early on, you can see today you don't see a bias, right? At least between whether you're going to a female doctor or a male doctor, and they're both doing equally. They don't give up their profession. And I see, I mean, that's, let's say that's 100 years back it started probably. So hopefully in engineering it started late. Maybe we will see same sort of thing. So having more females would make a change in the perception, and and everyone needs to participate. And females need to be more strong and headstrong. Nothing to fear. You can go wherever you want to, as much as you want to work hard and reach there.
Thank you. There's another question on the chat box. It says, what about the role of spirituality or spiritual consciousness, which has helped you during maybe this journey?
That's, I think, maybe beyond me. So at some level, I'm a spiritual person, yes, but nothing more or less. I wouldn't say that I'm excessively spiritual or anything. I'm just like regular people who, you know, like to bow down to a superior power, and everything else which happens, I take it as it is a reality. So, yes, but I mean, I guess where it helps me probably is where, as somebody was saying, how do you keep yourself motivated? So if I don't succeed, I say, well, it must be his choice, not mine or our choice, whoever the God is. So maybe it helps me get over those bad times, because I don't just take blame on myself. I have someone I can blame. So I'm not. That's generally, I
There's
think
another
I'm
question.
a humanist rather than spiritual person, I would say.
So what's your say on the representation of women in education ministry, and is mandatory equal representation is the only way to increase women access to professional front?
I think I feel participation in most fields, especially education, is very, very important. And there I would feel something is going wrong, because I think in higher education you start seeing the scale going towards the male teachers and all, but even primary you see the scale going towards a primary female teacher. And I feel that's a societal bias, and I think that needs to also change, because it's kind of perpetuating some old perceptions, right? You know, in primary teachers are fine, but not in higher. And somewhere I think I feel equal participation in most field leads to a much healthier society, because, you know, children who are growing up also see it that way. They say, okay, you know, you have teachers from both sides and they do equally good job and all that. And that's very important. That's very important. I think we all need to commit to that we need to bring it to that stage where you have a society where everyone is able to reach their full potential in terms of their profession, creativity, as well as their life in general. So that I feel that's a basic. How do we reach that? There are obstacles, there are different things. Kinetics might be different if the whole process, if I bring material science into it, but, you know, the thermodynamics will be best if there are equal. There are more participation, and things are not biased to one or the other side. And I know it's equally bad for male population, right? I mean, a male teacher in a primary school feels kind of awkward, well, very few compared to, because most of them are female teachers. So that's also not right? It should be equally represented.
Yes, Shruti, please.
So there was a question sent to me by someone. So the question is, you said you left your family for a year and went to US. In families where both parents are working, especially both associated with STM, in which your mind gets occupied so much that even when one is physically present with the family, but mind is already occupied, do you think that it is too much of a compromise, especially on part of children, where kids then become more attached with the maids than their parents? As the famous proverb goes, mother is the first school to the children. How does a mother in this case does justice to their children?
Very, very good question. And I ask myself that question many times. And maybe, as you say, one of the things where you feel you failed, maybe, but, you know, that's a new normal. and that's where we need to go for, because it's not true that you can expect that every that the role for the woman is only to cater to the child. You will have, as I said, this is a choice. I mean, if I take a choice, I can do one thing or the other. I think in that sense that is wrong. But of course, what you're saying is true, and better support systems have to develop so that the mother caregiver is not considered the sole caregiver. There are other members in the life of a person who should be equally supportive, right? So these are the role changes which have to happen with time. But what you're saying today in the transition period, these are true. But you cannot. I mean, I would really, and I would tell my colleagues, don't try to be a superwoman, right? That I can be a good mother, good wife, this, that, and I also do good professionally. I think that's not possible. I mean, you want to kill yourself or what? Because I know being a mother, housewife is also a full-time job. And obviously I'm not doing many of those things as I could because I have chosen something else. But then I'm happy that I have that choice. Okay, you may say this is right or wrong, and what you're saying may be true. And I also sometimes wonder whether if I was home, I may have given a better this thing. But then growing up, I had two daughters, right? So I wouldn't want her to grow up as a person. Now here, female, I wouldn't want her to grow up as a person feeling that as she grows from this point till, till we live, the only choice is that you have a family and you cater to the children and you give them good career, and that's it. I think that's rather too narrow option, right? So I wouldn't want anyone to have that only. And here, others have to support. My husband was very, very supportive during that period, right? And why not? If a woman can, do all the things and do the job, why cannot male? Just because they are male, it's not that they cannot do other jobs and support the family. So these are the role changes and the things that you have to change. And giving this, this is very common. And this is what probably puts the female down. I think you hear all your life, and I don't know if males will understand, but I think all females will go through all your life. You say, if you choose this, just like this example, your daughter will not be properly done, or your son will not be properly taken care of. And then, we are of course human, you said, oh my God, what am I doing? Am I going wrong? And these are the fears. These are our normal life fears, and you have to tackle them. And you say, I will do my best. Even if I'm not there, whatever, if I spend 1 hour quality time with my child, I will give everything. I'll give the confidence that the child wants. It's not necessary that I have to be there for 24 hours. Okay, so these are the fears that you have to fight as a female. Thanks for asking that question. It'll come all the places. People will say all sort of things. If you do that, you'll be considered this. You'll do that, you'll be considered that. Fight it, and do what is the right thing for you to do. Don't go by others' perceptions. If you think you're doing it right, please go ahead and do it. Even then, I know things will fail and you will say, oh my God, maybe I did it wrong. But then we all make mistakes. But please make your choices, take the right step, and try to correct them as much as you can if something goes wrong. That's how life is. You can't be that this is a set path and you just go for it. I think if you go that's not the right solution.
I may also want to add something on that. I think my mother also was a working woman, and as a child, actually, I appreciated that. So that bias doesn't come in even as a child. I think it's very much required that we see some example in front of us as a child. So when I could see my mother is working, so I basically from childhood I did not see any bias between males and females, and that was my perception. And also in the process, as Professor Katyar also is mentioning that even when a woman is working, that also is making the children or that particular child independent. So even if they're not able to get time, but they also learn to do things on their own. So that also I think is a plus rather than justifying, oh, I could not spend time. I think by that process also a person learns a lot, especially the children. So that I think is a plus that they could appreciate and they could also accept it that way. So thanks for that. There are two more quick questions. So if okay, there's some other. Okay, so maybe this advice part we can take it later. This has come up in the chat box, but I think there are two more quick questions. What is your opinion on the current maternity leave and allowances provided to Indian academic system? Is there any change required to support women in professional front?
I think this is maybe beyond me, but my My first daughter was born in US and I had, I think, 6 or 8 weeks maternity leave. I was back at work. And my second daughter was born in India and I think, I don't know what, 6 months or 4 months maternity leave. It was wonderful to have spent so much time with my younger daughter. So I would prefer the Indian system. But I think this is a decision that is a policy decision. I would say 6 months is a good thing if our culture can afford it. Yes, I think it's a good thing to spend time with. But certain professions and all don't allow it, then it's possible also to live with the shorter one side. Something that you have
I
to
think
make do. Yeah.
I think in India, both I think parents get 6 months of maternity leave, right? Is that
No,
so?
no, 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 no. The males get paternity leave now. It has just recently started,
But
and I think it's only 2 weeks. I think it's only 2 weeks.
okay, only 2 weeks.
But I think they have started a new thing like childcare, which can be taken up until the. I think that can be taken probably by both.
Yes. I'll have one more question and then we'll come to the chat question. So, what types of reforms are needed for the betterment of engineering education in India? Something along those lines for male, female
Yeah,
equality.
yeah. Let's get to engineering. It's I feel we do need. I don't have the answer for it, but I feel we do need a huge change in the way we are doing engineering education. Especially one sign for it is that the number of engineers that we are graduating, they are not going. Not I'm not talking about female, but male, female both, not going for engineering jobs. So something is amiss. We are teaching people something which they don't need for their career. So some major change is required. Um, how we teach or how we make our programs so that they are much more applicable to engineering requirements of manufacturing and the world outside. Right now, we are training engineers for being managers and other things. So that's something which bothers me also. And there is a change required here. I think there has to be better correlation with the availability of jobs and opportunity outside and what we are teaching. We can't be teaching in a vacuum, right? We are kind of supplying to outside world. So the outside world must have need for these people. So a change in curriculum which addresses that is needed.
But on the same front, I'm just thinking this way. Like if they're getting absorbed somewhere, maybe this teaching is helping them at least to get absorbed. So maybe that training is required to get into that even job of management or anything else. So can we also see it that way, or?
Yes, I mean, engineering colleges, I think some number I saw a few years back is that I think only 10% of engineers that we are graduating are being employed as engineers or something like that, right? So yes, I mean, we can take solace in the fact that those we are teaching well and they are doing something, um, but then could they be, could we be teaching less number of people with a lot more focus and development of engineering fields rather than just training of human resources? Of course, very important part, but we should, if you are looking at, so I think the way we see education, if you're looking at engineering education, it must be related to engineering needs of the society, right? Engineering education, not just to train people, right? So I'm trying to say that the engineering need of the society, and hence the number of people we graduate or the people who have aptitude for engineering should take up this field. The way our system is right now working, it is more of a status quo that we should do engineering rather than your love for engineering. And since you have less and less people who love engineering, they take less and less job in engineering and they do less and less for engineering. So that's the problem. I think, I know we are training human resources, but these human people are not related to engineering, unfortunately. So we need people who want to do engineering, want to open up things, make new things, and they may be smaller in number, but then their passion for engineering is so much that it will take the fields to higher grounds.
I'll take one more question, and then I think I'll come to this last question. I will end with that. That's a very nice question which has been asked in the chat box. So this one particular question, which I think also came up in one of the discussions during Women in Sciences and Engineering, is a woman also judged by their colleagues more harshly than a maybe male counterpart? Typically, when there is maybe a person is not able to do or is doing a very good job or not doing a good job, are they being judged more critically by females rather than the male counterparts? So that part also I actually gathered from, I think, one of the earlier discussions. What's your thought on that?
Very, very difficult question, because I really don't know how they're judging. But I think that is in life of everyone. Doesn't matter whether male or female. Like how people are judging you, it's their and how much you worry about how people judge you is also different. So again, some of my people from my contemporary who were in professions, they have said, and I think kind of agree. In order to succeed, at least in old times. It was more like you had to be 5 times as good as your male counterpart in order to succeed. So congratulations to all the female on this channel, that the fact that you are here, you are already better than your male counterparts, whether they believe it or not. Okay, you have fought many battles, direct or indirect, battles many in your own mind, direct or indirect, to reach this point and continue, because I think that's the right direction.
Thank you. And I think we'll take up this last question if there are no more questions, because this is very nicely asked. What is the one important? Okay, there's one more by Shruti, so maybe we can take that first. Don't we see engineering now be considered as a safe career option instead of a profession chosen out of the interest? Maybe someone else has wrote it to her. What is your opinion on this? So don't we see engineering now to be considered as a safer career option instead of a profession chosen out of interest?
So as a profession in general, I would say, yes, I think especially with IT and all, engineering did provide more job opportunity. Now, this is all related to the job market, right? So yes, in this sense, people are more attracted towards engineering because of the security of job. That is true. I think other professions, but other fields are also coming up. And as people get more and more comfortable, for example, management is reaching that point where people are feeling comfortable that that's a good career option because it gets you good jobs. So yes, true. But then in light of that job security, I think this is something probably beyond educational institution. It needs to be taken up at the societal level, policy level, government level. What is happening is the other fields are suffering really, really bad, because you need work in sociology, you need work in psychology, you need work in sciences, you need work in management, you need work in law, and unless you have a good development of all fields, you have a very lopsided society. So yes, engineering is providing job security, so there should be also job security in other professions. It may be out of your and my hand, but that's what should be there. You need school teachers, you need good medical support, you need good nurses. I mean, our healthcare system has so few paramedics and nurses. I mean, we have seen through that in the last 1.5 years. We can do with good training. There's so many areas we are just because we are not able to see the whole picture. We just go for one area and then we say, okay, this is job security, and we all do that. I mean, females also do that, right? I mean, in my my lifetime, when I was in 10th, and you talk about options, I had my competition. I was in a girls' college. She got married in 10th, and she was. I mean, we always used to be first or second in our class and competing, and it was sad, right? But it happens even today. So these things, opportunities that exist, there should be job security in other fields, so they can also develop. Otherwise, you have a very lopsided society, and that's where they get problems of where only 10% engineers are getting engineering job and others are going everywhere else. So yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer, but yes, you say what you're saying is true, but it needs to change. That picture needs to change.
Thank you. So I think we'll take up this last question now. So what is one important advice that you will you would like to give to a person who is about to start his or her career as an engineer?
Give your 100% to your profession. Do your best. And don't be shy of anything. Okay? Whatever area you feel, try to do your best, try to find the answers and think like an engineer. What is the answer to these things? Don't just do marginal things, do basic work, go for innovation, go for things out of the box, think in new directions, not just follow what has been done. Think originally, give your 100% to the profession, and also, of course, to yourself also.
I see there are no more questions. So I think this also has opened up a lot for me to also perceive and also absorb. But very nicely, I think Professor Katiyar has, I think, given so many perspectives of how to go about leading a very good life, also excelling in whatever you do. So I think we really thank Professor Monia Katiyar for her time as well as guiding, I think, everyone else around here. And Shruti, you have anything to add, or I?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's always
Please.
been like a word that behind every successful man there is a woman. But after listening to you, I truly echo with ma'am that even behind a successful woman there is a man. He can be a father, he can be a husband, a brother, or even a friend as well. And on that line, I would just like to present this coffee mug from Material Advantage ITK on this occasion to Monica ma'am. Ma'am, we'll come and give this to you personally, but being it a virtual platform, I just wanted to share it over here. Thank you, ma'am, so much for joining. And it was really very
Thank you so
inspiring.
much. Thank you for the opportunity, Kantesh, and I really appreciate that. And I would like to add in the end, you said the struggle, but I know in my journey there have been so many people with whom I feel I can discuss things, the colleagues, friends, and I think that support also is very, very helpful. They come at the most difficult time and they say things which makes you feel no, when you feel, as you say, you just get disappointed, you say no, everything is not bad. There are other people who think differently. So thanks, Shruti, and thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. So we'll end the meeting over here. Ma'am, please let us know a suitable time when we can come to your office